Welcome to Life, Death, and the Law, presented by the law firm of Deason, Garner, and Hansen, hosted by attorneys Sean Garner and Adam Hansen.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and the Law. I'm attorney Adam Hansen, and we've got my partner Sean Garner. We've got Tom Sparks in the house, and we've got Cody Beeson. We've been talking a lot about the new foray into this AI world that we're living in. Sean had found this video about Ryan Gosling explaining AI and large language models, LLMs, and
I just stumbled upon Ryan Gosling. I was actually looking up AI stuff, just to be clear on that.
Yeah, right. Okay. And so anyway, he found this video. He's like, look, even Ryan Gosling is talking about it. I said, I've seen that video, and it's fake. It's a deep fake.
I didn't know
to show what
that.
AI can
These
do.
guys all publicly shamed me for believing that it was actually Ryan Gosling. I actually believed it was him.
Really?
Yeah.
Right off the bat.
I'm pretty gullible, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, those two just didn't
I'm
go.
like, dang, Ryan Gosling really upped his game. He sounds really smart on this video.
I would have believed it to be Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is actually really smart.
Yeah.
And
But look what we're doing here. We're saying
if
that
it's Matthew McConaughey explaining it, then I might have had a little bit of doubt. But
none of those
All right,
observations
all right.
matter about their look. Like
What
it looked
do you
like
want?
Ryan. Yeah.
what do you want?
No,
That's the only thing I know about
that's
Ryan
copyright.
Gosling.
Yeah, that's The Notebook.
Yeah. If
Sean's favorite movie.
if
Tom loves The Little Mermaid. Sean's got The Notebook.
I only know that because I use it every day when I'm trying to figure out what my wife actually wants.
Gotcha.
Okay, sorry.
I was just gonna say that the video looked like Ryan Gosling. It sounded like Ryan Gosling. The only reason we didn't think it was is because it didn't make sense for him to be talking about AI, which just shows you how powerful it is. So, if you don't know who Ryan Gosling is and you think that maybe he has reason to know about AI, you wouldn't know it was fake.
Yeah.
They're getting too good.
Speaking of, like, what rights do we have to use other people's intellectual property or their likeness and their image? I want to talk a little bit about the copyright. Copyright protection is good for, I think it's 10 years. Yeah. Sorry, no. The copyright was for 70 years from the life of the author, or 120 years from its creation, whichever is longer. Then we get into trademark. And so trademarks are, like the Safeway symbol. You get
McDonald's.
Yeah, McDonald's symbols, those types of symbols, those are trademarks. Those are good for 10 years, but you can renew them. So they can be good indefinitely because the companies that have vested interests in them, they want to renew them every 10 years. And so McDonald's, it's going to go on in perpetuity. And then we've got the patent. And this is where it got a little heated here off the air, and we almost came to fisticuffs. But we restrained ourselves, and the patent is good for, right?
It took the shirts off and everything.
Yeah, only 20 years. And it's really interesting because there's some significant events in human history where I think the expiration of the patent actually saved literally the innovation itself. For example, the Wright brothers. They were able to patent the right to fly. Not their design of the airplane. It was flying in general. They were able to win that patent. And then along came World War I, and the United States said, okay, we have an overriding security interest here, so we're going to limit that right to your patent, and and it was an individual named Carter, I forget his first name, that he figured out a way to fly much more efficiently with a fixed wing plane, and they allowed his invention to come in and be produced without paying the massive royalties that the Wright brothers wanted. In fact, the Wright brothers were really kind of
Jerks.
when it came to their invention, they didn't want to allow it out there. And in fact, they blamed Carter for the death. And I forget if it was Orville or what's the other Wright brother's name?
I don't know.
Come on.
Anybody?
Uncultured swine.
Bueller.
Okay.
I don't know it.
We're looking this up.
Wilbur.
Wilbur and
I
Orville
knew
Wright.
that.
Okay. So one of them passed away as a result of the stress that they were going through these lawsuits to protect their patents and protect their right to fly. And you think about that, that's really selfish that they didn't want the rest of humanity to participate in this wonderful invention that they came up with, or it wasn't even an invention in and of itself, but the ability to fly. And another invention was a television. And so when the television was invented, there were a lot of patent lawsuits about that. And then what happened was World War II came around about that same time. Nobody could afford a television. The individual was this young kid from Idaho. I'm going to get his name here. Philo Farnsworth. He invented the television, and he was this young kid out of southern Idaho. He didn't have a lot of backing, but it was RCA that wanted to develop the television. They just couldn't get it right, and so they went and they copied his work, and they were able then to get it right, and he sued them for patent infringement, and after years in court, he won. And so they couldn't develop the television, and then World War II ensued. Nobody could afford a television. After World War II, guess what? The patent that he was given, awarded the right to, had expired, and RCA comes out starting developing televisions, and Philo died without anybody knowing who he was, and penniless and alone. So is that good? Is that bad with the patent laws? Should they last longer? Should they not be enforced at all? That's the argument that we're putting out there. And Thomas, what's your position on that?
I think the patent law has a place. I just don't like the idea of a monopoly. So essentially, a patent will give you a monopoly on the product for 20 years. And what I think should happen instead would be you can get a patent, but instead of you being the sole individual who can develop this, and you can limit who can work on this type of technology, I think they develop a more robust royalty system, so we still have competition in the marketplace.
Well, the royalty system currently, if you own the patent, is whatever you want.
But if you own the patent, can you deny production?
Yes.
So that would
for the
be
20 years.
So that would be, I think, the thing that goes too far. Like, I don't want 20 years where you deny production.
That they say, okay, you can charge a royalty up to say 50% of the cost of production, and so or the profits or whatever revenue is received from producing and selling, marketing your product. But over that, we're going to limit it because we want the people to be benefited from whoever can market it and get it out to the masses the quickest.
Yeah. Nope. I think maybe a sliding scale of royalties.
What do you think about that, Adam?
Well, as you're talking, I was thinking about using a person's patent to basically building upon a person's patent. And how does that work? Obviously, we're not patent attorneys. Those guys are incredible. They usually have to have a degree,
a biology and a chemistry, or some type of,
or mechanical engineering a lot of times, and then you go to law school on top of that, and then you have to pass not only the bar for law, but then you have to pass the patent bar, which is like even harder. So patent attorneys are incredible, and so we're not holding ourselves out to be patent attorneys at all. In fact, we barely even dabble in that area in law school. They give you a little taste of it, but it's pretty assumed like, okay, you guys aren't going to be patent attorneys, so here's a little bit so you know enough to be dangerous, but the real patent attorneys are going to come to the top here, the cream of the crop. But having said that, I've always, you were talking about restriction on use, Tom, and how you disagree with that, meaning if I invent something and my invention is incredible and you want to use it, you don't think that I have the ability to say, no, you can't use that. I created that, and I'm denying you the ability to use it because I own the rights to that.
No matter how much Tom is willing to pay you out of the profits that he makes from it.
Right.
I don't even think that's very common. I think you might have the right to do that, but I think it's more common for people to license the right to use it. So I get to use your product. I can't copy it. That's really what patent law is about, is copying it and then selling it for money.
Yeah, as if you invented it yourself.
As if you invented it.
But what if you had a scenario where somebody found out how to make an identical product, but they made it way cheaper than you could? Like, their process is way more efficient.
Well, they're always doing that.
And that's
Like
what
China
that,
does.
That's what China's doing.
Yeah, that is what capitalism is in a sense. It's
True.
who can make the product the most efficient and provide it to the consumer in the easiest way, and that person wins out.
In
So
fact-
where does patent law come into that? And
Well, I was just going to say, in fact, I kind of rely on that capitalistic system.
sorry,
For example,
Playing
you know, you
footsies
have
with Tony.
you have these really nice sheets that are the newfangled sheets or mattresses. You see these things all the time, and they're exorbitant amount of money to buy them. If you get the one from that company, I know that if I wait 6 months, I'm going to find it on Amazon from some knockoff.
Yeah.
It's going to feel exactly the same. It's going to look the same, but it's some knockoff company, probably from China or some sort of merchandise coming in from China. So I kind of rely on that. I just wait. I play the waiting game. Okay, I really want that product, but I know if I wait long enough, I'll find it on Amazon for cheaper because somebody's going to do a knockoff. Is that always the best thing? You know, I mean, when I do that, I know I'm probably going to get a little bit downgrade of quality, but some of these knockoffs, like we talk about AirPods, you can find some really good. They look identical to AirPods. They sound a lot like AirPods. You know, it's like they get really good at copying things.
I didn't know that. If I had known that a week ago, we could have averted some huge battles in my family.
Oh, there you go. I just don't want to wait 20 years.
Well, here's my argument for the patent. It takes a lot of time and initial investment up front where you're not getting compensated. You're taking this out of your personal life. Generally, it's not your full-time job to develop this product or this idea, and it's intellectual property that is being protected in the patent. And if we don't allow that to be protected and that ownership, number one, is unconstitutional because we have the right to own property, including intellectual property. So I think that is infringing upon your constitutional rights. Number two, it disincentivizes people who would put all the time and energy into creating better products that improve our everyday life. And we want to incentivize people to continue to improve. We want the drug companies to continue to innovate to make our life better. And so they get to capitalize on those innovations for a limited period of time. And the law has come up with 20 years as far as that limited period of time. Now we see where they don't honor those laws, like in China, and they infringe upon patent and copyright and every other law, and you get these movies that you're not buying from the actual producers, and it cheapens the whole product, and it also creates a disincentive for the artist or the inventor to put in the hard work to do it again.
Patent law, though, you just mentioned China. I mean, the thing about what we're talking about, it's United States law.
Yeah,
It's not
right. China doesn't have
law.
to abide by it.
But they do have their every country has their own patent laws or IP laws, intellectual property laws. But you as an inventor, you would have to be very diligent about going to those countries, those foreign domains where you think it might be used, or you're going to sell it, and you have to copyright or you have to patent it over there as well, because they don't care about American law or U.S. law. Excuse me. They don't care about what's going on here on our turf as far as an invention. So I think China is a lot. They don't really care. You know, like it was created over here in the United States. We might have some patent laws or copyright laws. They don't care. They're not subject to the United States copyright laws or patent laws. They're subject to their own laws, but they might not have that in their own forum.
Yeah.
You know, I think that I agree that patent law, there's a place for it and that we need it. And if you don't protect someone's interest in creating, then people are going to stop. Like, why would I waste my time creating something if this big company is just going to steal it out from under me and do it way cheaper?
Mm-hmm.
But what I think the protection is just too robust. The protection is I can prevent you from making this cheaper and better for everybody, and I can force my inefficient process on the public if I so choose.
Yeah.
And I don't want that option.
However, human nature generally isn't like that. I don't
Right.
believe it is, at least.
I don't think we should rely, though, on the human nature to save us. I think the law should just protect it.
Well, the law does, in a sense, 20 years.
It does, but I
And
think
so,
it could be
like,
better.
if you can come up with your own way that is not this exact patented way to do it, then go for it. And you get your own patent. But if you can't, then within 20 years, then you can use that person's invention. There's a wonderful movie out there about this. It's called Flash of Genius. And it's about this individual. His name is Robert Kearns, and he invented the intermittent windshield wiper. And Ford had been working on this for a long time, and so had GM and some other of these major companies, and they hadn't been able to get it down. And so he developed this, and he was a tinkerer, and he was an engineer. He taught engineering in school, and made a decent living, but struggled from day to day to provide for the family and make ends meet. So he's working all through the night to make this intermittent windshield wiper, and he's very cautious when he presents it to Ford because he doesn't want them to steal his idea without compensating him. And his agreement with them is that he's going to be able to manufacture it. He doesn't want them manufacturing it because he feels like if they can manufacture it, then they have to have the actual design. He says, I'll manufacture it, and then you do your quality control, put it in your cars, and you can go ahead and do it for the next 20 years. So Ford agrees to that, and as soon as they get the first model of it, they reverse engineer it, and then they tell him, oh, we no longer need your contract. We're going to go ahead and cancel that. We're going to do it on our own. We figured our own way out how to do this. And this guy dedicated his life, and it ruined his family life. He got a divorce. He put all of his time and energy into suing Ford for this. They came up with several settlement offers to pay him off and just get him out of their hair. He ended up just going through for moral issues, and he won tens of millions of dollars against the Ford Motor Company for doing this. I agree with him, and I'm glad there are people like him out there. Of course, I would never have done that on my own, throw away my family and everything. But there are those that need to take a stand up against the big guys that already have everything and say, no, I created something. If you want it, you got to go through me to get it, and you got to pay my agreed upon royalty fees.
Yeah, I think I wholeheartedly agree that as long as it's a royalty fee, that's the remedy and not an injunction.
But if you force a royalty fee, then you are also infringing upon another constitutional right, which is the right to contract. And my right to contract is I don't want to give you a royalty at all. Or I don't want to accept a royalty agreement from you.
Yeah, but we're also making up the right to the patent. Like the 20-year right to a patent is made up. Like I don't read that into the Constitution personally. Like just because I have the same idea doesn't mean I stole your idea. Like it's not the same thing as I stole your tangible personal property.
Well, in our world today, intellectual property is just as valuable, if not more valuable, than tangible property.
Which is why I think the law was on the books, because we recognize that there's a fundamental difference between IP and tangible property.
Right.
We got to go to break. This is Life, Death, and the Law.
You're listening to Life, Death, and the Law, presented by Deason, Garner & Hansen, the law firm that has been voted Yuma's best 6 years in a row.